everybody, we've got a really great video for you today because it's TFL Fleet Update Day. So in this video, we're talking about all the vehicles TFL owns, the vehicles we personally own, what's new, what's not, and some secret vehicles we've been hiding from you that we're really excited to announce, and that's coming up right now. Whee! So let's talk about what we got in the stable starting here at TFL HQ in Boulder, Colorado, and we're gonna find a very dirty and very well used cheap Jeep. So this is Bill, it's our 2024 Jeep Wrangler Sport. This was the very base model that we bought just a little while ago to see if it was worth living with. The roll down window, no power lock version of a Jeep Wrangler. And Bill has been an awesome little rig. Very impressed with his capability. Now we are in the midst of tire testing. So we've went ahead and found 3 sets of Rubicon takeoff wheels, mounted 3 different tires on them. Right now we've got the Firestone Destination XTs on this bad boy. We've been cycling between the Falcons, the BFGs, and the Firestones. Really good tire for the money, by the way, side note. Been very impressed with these. Bill needs a wash desperately because Bill spends probably half of his time off-road in videos, but really impressed with the little Jeep. Definitely, in my opinion, if you're going to get a new Jeep Wrangler, get one with the Pentastar V6 and the automatic transmission, which I think is discontinued for 2025, which is a big bummer because the manual is just kind of squidgy, and the Pentastar is, in my opinion, the most solid of the Wrangler engines. So really like this little 2-door Wrangler. It's going to be sticking around for quite a bit longer. Kind of try to keep it stock for a while to show folks what you can do without a lift and with no lockers and with, you know, just very basic sets of takeoff wheels and tires. But yeah, other than the terrible headlights, there's not a lot I have to complain about with Bill. Moving on to the Cybertruck. So this is our long-term Tesla Cybertruck that we wrapped in the American flag for the 4th of July. And we're going to talk to the wrap installer here in a second because he's working on something pretty cool over here. Cybertruck is now rolling a new set of wheels and tires, Atomic wheels and the Michelin Defender LTX Platinum tires. And we are doing more tire testing, check this out, with various different types of wheels and tires. So here's another Atomic wheel design. This, by the way, is so cool. I love this look. It's this forged Atomic wheel with this inner surround, and then the BFG KO2. We've got some comparisons about efficiency coming up over at TFL EV. And the Cybertruck is going away because we are trading it for something very new and very special that I'm really excited about coming up in a little while. It's going in, I think next week will be our last week with Cybertruck. Paid $100,000 for it. We're trading it in like the mid $80,000 territory, fully transparent about what we pay for things here. So pretty decent, considering it's got like 10,000 miles on it. It's not as bad or as good as the world will have you believe. It's kind of just right down the middle in my opinion. It does some things really well. It's the best car I've ever driven and not a great truck in some ways. So best car, comfortable, big, roomy. It's got this huge trunk area that you can close up with the push of a button. That's great. Not a great truck in that it doesn't tow very far when towing. It's actually incredible off-road. Some quick thoughts on the Cybertruck before it heads off. Andre's got a full wrap-up video coming shortly. And then that right there is something very cool. So we'll talk about that in a second, but that is a 2016 Mercedes-Benz G-Wagon that my dad's dream car. He found the right one, paid about $58,000 for it, 82,000 miles. We just put some Falcon Wild Peak tires on it, and we're changing the color because it was matte black, which looks great in person and terrible on video. So we're going for kind of a 2-tone factory-inspired look. So Shane's the man.
Good to see you again.
Making this happen.
Yeah.
Shane with Innovation Installations has been wrapping our G-Wagon, and apparently it's been quite the project.
It has been, as you can see. I don't know if you guys saw this before, all the parts that we took off. We took off half the vehicle is here, another half is in the other room. Door panels, door handles, lights, fender flares, headlights, bumper cover, grill guard, you name it. Wheels and tires are still on, but that's about it.
The engine's still in it.
Engine's still in it. I might steal that though, but yeah, it didn't have to come out for the wrap.
It does look truly goofy. So one of the funny things, if you want to check out these headlights, is it's got kind of this shocked look because the headlight is huge, even though you only see this much through the actual surround. But Shane was saying off camera to me earlier that this has been a pretty challenging vehicle to wrap, and what makes it so hard?
The dismantle and these moldings, these rubber moldings are VHB or double-sided tape, and there's no hardware holding that on. And so if you take them off, you pretty much ruin them.
Unreal.
So good luck getting them back on. You can, but you're taking a high risk pulling them off. So working around those was a challenge. And then just the dismantle time, we had about 4 hours in just dismantling this vehicle.
Jeez.
To just get it to the point where it could be wrapped, really. And so each one of these fenders has an inner fender liner, the water shield, and then it has the outer fender flare, and about 30 pieces of hardware for each one of them. And a lot of them you can't really get to with anything but just a little wrench.
Oh, dude, that's a crazy tough job.
Very tedious.
And one of the more interesting things that we were talking about, so Shane was talking about these rub strips, and what's amazing is if you like get close, you can see there's no seam left as to where the black is poking through. So how the heck, Shane, were you able to wrap this door around this rub strip without seeing a gap? I mean, it's incredible.
Is this the part where I go, I'm just that good? It was a challenge. Definitely not my first rodeo, my first G-Wagon rodeo, but not my first wrap rodeo. So ended up each door, every panel is wrapped in one piece. And so like for instance, in this door, we cut a piece off this wide with a little bit of bleed and bleed at the top and bottom, come down, wrap to the top of this. And then we had covered all of these in masking tape to keep from cutting them.
Oh, interesting.
And then I do what's called a relief cut. So when it gets to this, you kind of get close and you relief cut a section of the vinyl out to give it some movement, and then get it as close as you can, tuck it, and it's just a tedious process. So each one of these, like for instance, this one probably took 15 minutes,
wow,
give or take. And the vinyl wants to tear, it's very thin, so you have to watch it at the corner so it doesn't tear, and just tuck it and cut it and tuck it some more and cut it some more.
So Shane, you've been doing vinyl for how long now?
Vinyl wraps, probably 25 years, give or take, something like that. Yeah, that was kind of in its infancy. It wasn't this, it was commercial graphics. It was a little bit more like this stuff, like what's on the Cybertruck, print wraps.
Yeah.
Color change kind of came a little bit later, and then materials have evolved over the years. But yeah, I've done from anything small to big, motorcycles, snowmobiles, up to buses and everything in between, probably close to 2,000.
So, I mean, he's wrapped everything under the sun. How does the G-Wagon compare to your typical vehicle?
On a complexity scale, it's, well, on an involved scale, it's a 10, probably, a 9 or a 10.
Yeah.
But it's not because of the panels being complex to wrap, it's what's involved to get to a point to wrap it, like I was saying, in removing hardware and what you have to work around. There are vehicles that are way more complicated as far as panels go, bumpers and stuff that are a lot more complicated to wrap than this. But this ranks pretty high as far as tedious and complicated.
So Shane has this really interesting story I want to say really quick, because he's actually you're a certified installer, right? Mm-hmm. And he's done tons of school for this kind of thing. And he was saying that to get a certification, they had one body panel that you had to do in one piece of vinyl. Can you explain that?
Yeah, back when I did the 3M training, I've heard through the grapevine that they don't do it anymore, but you had to wrap the entire front bumper of a Chevy HHR. If anybody knows what an HHR is, they remember those?
Yeah.
They're all, half of them are in the junkyards now, but the HHR bumper has to be wrapped in one piece of vinyl. And you can't have any bubbles or wrinkles or any mistakes, or they start docking you points. So,
absolutely crazy.
Very, very complicated.
Unreal.
Yeah.
Well, Shane, buddy, thank you so much for doing this. I really appreciate it.
Glad to be a part of every TFL project. We love you guys.
Yeah, and Shane does all of our, I mean, if you ever have any question about the quality, just check out some of our videos, because he and his wife do top-notch stuff. They're just the best. So thanks, dude. I'll let you get back to it.
Glad to be a part.
All right, let's talk about some stuff outside in the first blizzard here in Colorado, starting with the update everybody wants to know about, Blaze. So this is our 4-year-old now, Bernie's mountain dog. We got him as a puppy in 2020. We actually did a road trip video with him when he was tiny, and Blaze is absolutely killing it. He's been a great companion and an even better boy. He's trying to go through Jen's legs. Blaze, come here. Come here, Blaze, you can go through my legs. Now, Blaze does best in this kind of weather when it's really cold and snowy, and this is definitely his world. And he struggles a little bit in the heat, but he is just such a good boy, almost never barks, really not aggressive at all, super friendly. They can be stubborn. That's one thing we've learned about Bernie's mountain dogs, is if they don't want to do something, they really have to be convinced otherwise. But really good dogs other than that. What are you doing down there? And big fan of the snow. Blaze loves eating the chunks of snow, don't you, buddy? Anyway, so that's your Blaze update. He'll be kicking around the rest of the video. But let's talk about some of our daily drivers, because the company owns a bunch of vehicles for long-term testing, and then we as a team also own a bunch of vehicles that we daily drive. We're gonna start over here with Jen's BMW. So Jen is our new producer and presenter and videographer for today. She's actually behind the camera. And we've got an update coming on this BMW because Jen bought this 335 brand new, and she's coming up to $100,000, and you won't believe how much money she had to put into it in maintenance. Zero. It has not broken. So I'm really excited to do that video because these cars have a reputation for unreliability, and hopefully we're going to prove some of that wrong. Really cool. Next up, we've got Gavin's Toyota. Gavin is our intern. He does a lot of our editing behind the scenes for a lot of our shorts. It's been a really good truck for him too. I think his dad bought this new. It's got many hundreds of thousands of miles and will not die. Next up, we got the newest addition to our TFL personal fleet. This is Case's Fiat 500e. So Case just leased this little teeny tiny cranberry of a car to daily drive because he's got this 12-valve Cummins, loves the truck, he's never going to sell it, but he also realizes it's not a very good daily driver, especially when it gets cold and that massive inline six diesel won't get up to temperature. So he bought this as his everyday driver. $47 a month after incentives here in Colorado, which is nuts. I'm actually really excited for him about this. It only goes like 150 miles on a charge. It was 900 down, 47 bucks a month. And for that price, he's just going to be saving so much money on fuel. He said it's pretty cheap to insure, and what a little unit for a daily driver. Now this is a really interesting little car. Fans of the channel might remember this from a couple of years ago. This started out as a company car and is now owned personally by Andre and his wife. What you're looking at here is a 2014 BMW i3. It's kind of hard to tell in the snow, but this is the first generation BMW i3. It's a really early car with the range extender 2-cylinder gasoline engine. Now we bought this car something like 30,000 miles. And I want to say Andre's creeping up to like 80,000 miles on this car in a few years. I could be wrong about that. We're going to do a full update on this car. Andre's wife drives this to work every single day, except for today, where Andre took it to work. And it has been perfect. They absolutely love this car. She does never want to sell it. She doesn't want to sell it, even though there are much more advanced EVs on the road now. This car does about 75 miles on a charge. It did that 50,000 miles ago, and now, 10 years later, it still does about 75 miles on a charge, Andre says. It just will not die. It's been really reliable. It's got the little 2-cylinder engine. Andre's about to do an oil change on it because it needs to be serviced every now and then. It's been perfect for Andre's wife to commute to and from her work, and it is an awesome little car. Seriously, one of the best used EVs on the market. This Silverado belongs to Shane, who's doing a wrap inside. This Nissan over here is a press car, because the way it works here at TFL is we get typically 2 or 3 press cars every week from the manufacturer. So we've got a video coming on TFL now. And then this is my ride, or maybe I should say it's now my wife's car. This is my 2006 Land Rover LR3, and it has been, seriously, the best car I've ever owned. I've been very fortunate to own, I don't know, a dozen cars in the 10 years I've been driving. And, you know, we've owned a lot of company cars here at TFL. We cycle through press cars. And I genuinely think that this is one of the best SUVs ever made, period, bar none. $4,500. I paid for it like a year and a few months ago. It's been driven, bought it with 68,000 miles. It's almost up to 82, so about 15,000 miles, 14,000 miles driven. Nothing is broken. Just maintenance, you know, change the fluids in it, drive it. I put a winch in it, rock rails, tires. We've got an update over at TFL Car if you want to learn more. But it has been the best daily driver I think money can buy in this market. It's been phenomenal. So we're going to clear the snow off of it and then head up to the ranch, tell a little bit more about this car, and then talk about what we got going on up at the ranch. The reason I love this SUV so much is I've never driven another four-wheel drive that has a wider bandwidth as to what it's good at. What I mean is this Land Rover is perfectly at home as a daily driver in all sorts of terrible weather conditions. It's got a great four-wheel drive system, it's got these KO2 tires, it's got a lot of ground clearance, and it will go through any kind of snowy terrain. But it's also really good off-road with the low range and the sophisticated four-wheel drive system. But it also works at a fancy hotel. Pull up to a valet and you're not going to be embarrassed. It's got some class to it. It also works as a family hauler. It also works at moving a ton of stuff around. I mean, it does everything so well, and it is the most comfortable car of the last 20 years. I'm convinced of it. The four-corner air suspension just is so squidgy and floaty, and it's the worst thing you could want for handling, but it's such a good car for an everyday driver. And this thing is still on its original date-coded 2005 air suspension. Haven't touched it. In fact, it has been perfectly reliable. So reliable, in fact, that we sold my wife's Honda and now she drives this car every day. I just wanted to take it today because, to be honest, I wanted to see what it was like in the snow. So I have absolutely adored this thing. I've got no plans on selling it for $4,567 for what I paid for it. It's been perfect. After the rock rails and the services and the tires and the winch, we're probably in it closer to like $9,000. But seriously, apart from changing all the fluids and just driving it, there's nothing it's needed. It's got really bad fuel economy, about 15.4 mpg. This is the V6, so it's got no power, but it's just the perfect SUV. Absolutely love it. So we're gonna trek the 35 minutes through the snow in absolute comfort, and then we're gonna tell you what's going on in the barn. Welcome to the ranch. So this is where we do a lot of our off-road filming. We've got a full off-road course way out back that's sponsored by Onyx Off-Road. We have some vehicle storage, and we are starting with this. This is my personal 1984 Mercedes 300 SD. Just bought this car a few weeks ago because I'm trying a little experiment. This is going to be my daily driver for the next year or so. The story is that we sold my wife's car, the Honda, so she's been daily driving my Land Rover, and then I needed a car to daily drive, so naturally I thought a 40-year-old Mercedes would be a good thing to try. So this is a 300 SD, which means it's an inline 5-cylinder turbo diesel. It's got 78,000 miles. I'm being fully open with this experiment. I paid $12,000 for this car, and I'll let you know what service costs and miles and that kind of thing. In the last 2 weeks, I've gone through 2 tanks of gas, which doesn't sound like a lot until you realize that this car will do 400 miles on a tank of, I guess, diesel. I shouldn't say gas, still trying to get in that diesel mindset. But these cars are really cool. Check this out, interior, really big and comfy. I'm liking the ride so far. The problem with this car is I kind of started my experiment at a bad time because, as you can tell, we are in the midst of winter here. And this car has the worst snow performance, I think, of any vehicle maybe ever, at least that I've driven recently. So I'm driving it on the days when we're not getting snow, but my favorite part about this car is that inline 5-cylinder turbo diesel. Now, these cars are known in some instances for having a tough start in the cold. So what you gotta do is you gotta turn the key, let the glow plugs warm up, and then hopefully, fingers crossed. I don't know what that little squeak was. That was alarming, but you can see it runs pretty darn well, actually. Got that amazing clatter of that 5-cylinder diesel. So this will be a fun little experiment. I'm actually thinking maybe I'll get some snow tires for it and go from there. But this car's also rust pretty aggressively, and this car with 78,000 miles is in good shape. I did have my first incident from daily driving duty. If you want to show over here, Jen. This car was clipped in a parking lot by a full-size truck, and I have a new appreciation for American bumpers. So you can see it's got some pretty unfortunate scuffing. I'm going to try to work this out because these bumpers are really hard to find and very expensive. So really sad about that initially, but then I realized it could be much worse if we didn't have the ugly American bumpers, because these absolutely did their job. The truck, I think, fared a lot worse. So yeah, there's the update on the 300 SD. Let's go head inside and check out some other stuff. So next up, we are back to company-owned cars. Our 1987 Porsche 911 Cabriolet. So we bought this car a few years ago for a video series to find out, is it worth buying a cheap Porsche and then fixing it to a standard that's presentable? And the answer is absolutely not. It has been such an enormous money pit. Now the car for 911s, we bought this at the peak of the air-cooled 911 market, under 100,000 miles. I think it was a 2-owner car, $35,000, which is unheard of. And now I think we're in it probably another $30,000. So some of the big failure points, this top has now been rebuilt twice. The mechanism has failed twice. It's been fully reupholstered. All in, we're probably $20,000 into this convertible top. The mechanism had to be completely sourced, reassembled, remanufactured, and it still works really well about 75% of the time. Interior, I think it's locked, but Jen, if you want to stick the camera in, interior has been also redone, so it looks really nice. It's got new door panels, new seats, it's got a new head unit in the radio, that's all good. And then we went ahead and sourced these Fuchs, these white Fuchs, which really transform the look, wrapped in these Michelin tires, 225/50 R16s, by the way. This car has this really nice wide body stance. It's got the whale tail. So we're probably in this car, I don't know, 60, 65,000. It's probably worth not quite that, but it is a really reliable car mechanically. It's been sorted, other than some computer hiccups that we sorted right at the beginning of the ownership. It's rust-free, actually drives pretty well, looks great, but if you're gonna buy one of these cars, just buy a sorted one, because it's spent probably, in the last few years, it's spent 8 months in the shop just waiting for parts and hard to find bits. So either know how to fix it yourself, which is hard to do when body work is involved, re-welding the top into position, or buy a sorted one, because buying a problem one is not the way to do it. And then this is my personal car. This is a 1993 Mini Cooper. So a classic Mini, fuel-injected Mini from Japan. Bought this car as a non-runner back in 2020, so almost 5 years with my classic Mini. It was my dream car. A ton of work done to it, new clutch, engine has had a bunch of work done to it. The fuel injection system and ignition system we're just gone through. Runs perfect now. I'm really stoked about it. And redid the interior. See, Jen, you want to poke your head in. It's got this really nice little red interior. This is a lovely, lovely, lovely little machine. Wheels, tires, had some suspension stuff done to it. It was really fun bringing this car back up to snuff. But I kind of had the bug in me recently that maybe it's time to sell it, because I've had so many adventures in this car. It's actually served me really, really well. It's never left me stranded. It's never really broken down at all, actually. I just wanted to get it perfect with some of the ignition stuff and fuel injection stuff, and it's pretty much perfect. I mean, it does have some rust in the flares, but as just a really nice driving, running, fun car, it's ready to go. I might regret this, but I think it's time for it to move on, just because I feel like I've had the Classic Mini experience. And if you're interested in a Classic Mini, wow, I can't believe I'm saying this, but send me a note, info@tflcar.com. I'm not asking a ton for it. I think, I just want to get kind of fair market value, maybe a little bit less if it can go to like a TFL viewer. But it's a great car, super fun, and it's ready for, I guess, a new home, which is going to kill me on the inside. But info@tflcar if you're interested in my Mini. And now for the newest vehicle, the newest addition to the TFL fleet, I present to you our new 2025 Chevy Silverado 2500 LT Trail Boss 6.6 Duramax with the crew cab. This truck is going to be our new workhorse, because we've had that 2022 Ram for a couple of years now. It has served us so well. It's been on so many adventures, and it's done so much work behind the scenes, but it's time for a replacement. Why replace a truck after just a couple of years? Well, the fact of the matter is we need these trucks to make us money, right? They are tools of our job. They need to get the views on YouTube. That Ram has served us really well over the last couple of years and like 30-something thousand miles. But now we got this new truck. It also helps offset some taxes. Going to be completely transparent about that. And really excited to see what adventures lie ahead. This is a new trim for the Silverado 2500. The Trail Boss has got the red tow hooks. Really stoked about these tires, actually. These are the new BF Goodrich KO3, which came from the factory on this truck. Wheels are way too big for my liking. 20-inch wheels on an off-road truck is kind of silly. So we've got some plans for this. I think we're going to put some running boards on it. Look, this truck is never going to be a rock crawler, and it's pretty hard for some of our shorter members to get in and out of. So we'll put some step/rock sliders on it. We'll put a tonneau cover on it, most likely. But very impressed with this truck so far. $75,000, a lot of money, holy smokes. But when you think about it, it's about 10K more than we paid for that Ram 2-3 years ago, right? You get a lot more truck for 10K. You get LED headlights, you get a lot more power, you get a much nicer interior, right? You get a lot more features. So yes, inflation is bad and it's hitting hard, but I actually think this is kind of better value than that Ram. But really excited about this truck. Check out the inside. Been driving the heck out of it, trying to put some miles on it so that Andre can get towing. And yeah, very impressed. Haven't had much experience with the 2500s personally. That's always been Andre's domain. This Duramax is so fast. It'll light up those rear tires first through third gear, no problem. So that's the latest addition. A lot more videos coming with this. Here at Tumbleweed Ranch, we assembled this barn, or I should say our man David assembled this barn and did an incredible job. People have been wondering where David is. David's been pretty busy working on a project with Andre, which will be airing hopefully soon. Andre's been documenting it. They're actually LSV8 swapping his Buhanka Soviet bread van, which has been nuts. So David's been doing a lot of the fab work, custom bumpers, a lot of custom work on that to get the V8 to go in the place where this little Soviet 4-cylinder went, which is very cool. Want to talk about these two really quick while we're out here if you watched this far, maybe you want to talk trailers before we head into the barn. This trailer has been very impressive. This is our Big Tex car hauler. It's a tilt deck trailer. This trailer is basically used on a bi-daily basis. Okay, maybe not that much, but at least 3 times a week there's something being towed on this trailer or it's being hauled around. It's been really, really good. One disappointing thing is we have snapped the spare tire carrier. It's got a nice crack in it. That's very frustrating. And we probably need to go through and give it another bit of stain on this wood deck, but it has been awesome. A second set of tires already, and already wearing down. I do not know what they make trailer tires out of. This is once again under its world, but they must make them out of Swiss cheese and bits of bubble gum because they just wear out constantly. So that's one of our trailers. And then Illuma actually went ahead and sent us this as well. This is their new wide load flat deck trailer, which I'm really excited to try. Super lightweight aluminum construction. We got a video of this over at TFL Now. What's nice about this is you got these low fenders, so if you've got a really wide vehicle you're trying to load on, you can drive on up and over these fenders. And yeah, pretty cool. You got some nice little grippy bits of metal there on the fenders. So got lots more videos coming with this as well. See what this is like. But Jen, let's head on inside. Talk about some of the vehicles we got going on inside. People wondering where Mr. Truck is. He's been doing really, really well. I think I can say this on camera, but he just got married and is enjoying his married life, I think, quite immensely. He's pretty far from us though, so it's a little tricky to kind of get our schedules to work, but he's doing pretty well. Let's see what we got going on inside TFL Barn. Come on in, Jen. So, bunch of stuff happening in here. Most of these company-owned cars and trucks, with the exception of the Mercedes. But let's start out with this, our long-term Ford Ranger Raptor. This is a vehicle that we felt like we should buy because it was the hottest midsize truck when it came out, not that long ago. It gets driven pretty frequently. We've had a couple of different camper shells on the back of it, and it is, simply put, the best midsize truck I have ever driven, and I think most of the team would agree. It does so much well. Front and rear locking differential, twin turbo V6. We did that tune on it, so it's got well over 400 horsepower now, which is crazy. It's so fast. Interior is a little small, especially for the backseat space, but big screen in it. What a magnificent machine. It's had quite a few off-road miles on it. All the wheels are fairly curbed. This side step is a little ruined from some off-roading we did up at Kelly Flat, so that's probably going to need to be replaced. I would love to see Ford actually do like a base model step that's a rock slider. That would be really cool. KO3 tires on it. It has been an absolute beast of a machine. Everybody loves it at the office. It's so much better, in my opinion, than the Trailhunter Tacoma. It's better than the Colorado ZR2 with that engine. It's just great for if you can get one like base model like this for mid-50s, what a machine. If you have to pay over sticker, don't. Wait a few more months, but absolutely awesome. All right, now for the stuff I love, we got our 3 old Fords. So starting with this 1931 Ford Model A truck. We bought this for the TFL Classics YouTube channel. And what a magnificent little truck. We had a terrible misfortune happen where going down the highway, coming back from a shoot on the trailer, gust of wind, the top just simply blew off. So it's got a brand new top installed in it. This car is in stunning condition. Problem is, it's too nice, genuinely too nice, because we're worried to kind of scratch it up and use it. So I think that this is going to be traded in on something very special we'll talk about at the end, but these are lovely, lovely cars and trucks to drive. If you ever have a chance and you're looking for a fun vehicle to mess around with, Model A's cannot be beaten, in my opinion. They are truly awesome. There's that new top. Jen pans up. Thank you, Jen. Good videography skills. And then out back, it's got the wood deck in the bed, which is awesome. This is a great, great truck. I love these things. They're super cool. And then, if you are a fan of TFL Classics, this is a Tin Lizzie that probably doesn't need much of an introduction. This is one of the things I'm most proud of this year. This is a 1915 Ford Model T Roadster. And this has been our biggest video the company has ever produced ever in the history of TFL when Case and I took this to Brighton Ford for an oil change. It is a truly special little car, not very valuable Model Ts. You can pick a good one up for $8,000 to maybe $15,000. This is a pretty nice one. It was restored 70 years ago, so it's a little rough around the edges, but it is a beautiful driver. It needs some radiator work. We had the radiator resealed and gone through, and it still isn't cooling properly. We had the head off the engine, went through that, still isn't cooling properly. So I just think we need to recore the radiator, which is shockingly expensive, or buy a new brass-style radiator. Case and I did tires on this car. It's got these non-skid tires from Coker. If you actually look at the tread pattern all the way down, this is non-skid, 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 which is super cool. And then I refinished the wheels as well, so those look really flashy and fancy. And then it got a rock in the windshield when we were taking it out to the grasslands for a video, which is a shame. Got to get a new windshield, and then ideally a safety glass windshield, because this is very dangerous. But these cars are awesome. And then coming over here, this is another Model T I convinced my dad to buy for the company. This is a 1927, so 1915 and 1927 Model T. This one's a little truck. Bought this one for $8,000, got it running. It wasn't running when we bought it, and it has been phenomenally reliable. We actually took this car, or do you say truck, up Pikes Peak. That is the video I'm most proud of that I've done this year. Really big effort, kind of dangerous and a little sketchy, but it's a little trooper. Model Ts are the most fun you can have in any classic car. I'm convinced of it. They're not expensive. If you live in even a semi-rural environment like we do here, you can have a lot of fun in Model Ts for not a lot of money. Strongly recommend them. Yeah, super easy to work on. Even an idiot like me can do some wrenching on them. And they're everywhere. And they're pretty cheap, so check them out. Okay, moving on. This is my personal car. I have had this car going on coming up on 3 years, I think. Maybe 2.5. 1972, Mercedes-Benz 250C. This was my wedding car. And I have had to do nothing to it. I've never owned a classic car that has been more reliable. It starts up every time I drive it, probably twice or maybe twice a month I get it out on the road. Never breaks down, beautifully smooth. It's carbureted, which I think is the key with these old Mercedes gassers, is to get a carbureted one. They're a lot easier to work on than mechanical fuel injection, and they give you such a classy experience. Oh, it's locked. Let me open up that door for you. Look at the interior in these cars. Nothing else matches them, in my opinion. Check this out. You get this wonderful blue vinyl seat with a dark blue carpet. I went ahead and added this white steering wheel, ivory steering wheel. These are really hard to find because the expensive Mercedes people want these. So this was like a $900 steering wheel, which is insane. And it came out of Istanbul. And when it came in the packaging, it smelled like a 1970s gentleman's club. It smelled like cigarettes and regret. So I had to air it out a little bit, but really cleaned up the interior. I redid the gauges on it as well. Sent them off to a company in Georgia to have them rebuilt. And that is all I've done. It's been perfect. It leaks a little bit. It squeaks a little bit. And I just don't care because it never breaks. Service it when it needs to be serviced. And they are awesome cars. This car is cool because it's kind of subtly beautiful, right? Most people see this and be like, ah, yeah, it's another old Mercedes. But then if you take another look at it, you see the beautiful pillarless coupe design where all the windows go down and the long deck lid. And I just think they're really gorgeous cars. So not very valuable. It's probably worth $12,000. But no plans on selling it because it always works, feels pretty safe, and it's fun to drive. All right. Now, speaking of workhorses, this little unit, this is a 1997 Honda Acti. This is what they call a K truck, imported from Japan. There's a huge fight against these in a lot of states, saying that they shouldn't be allowed on the road and they're death traps and whatever. It's no more dangerous than a 1915 Model T. But regardless, we haven't registered it because we really haven't needed to. This has been our ranch truck. So every week I use this to take trash all the way to the street, which is a little bit of a haul, use it to move dirt and gravel and whatever around the ranch. It's amazing how useful this thing is. Look at the size of the bed. You've got like a 6-foot bed in a vehicle that's 8 feet long. So it's almost all bed, super wide. The best feature about these two, which is super underrated, is you can fold down the rear tailgate and then the sides come down as well. So you can haul pallets of stuff. They're so useful. 3-cylinder engine. It does like 55 miles an hour. If you're doing 55 miles an hour on the ranch, something's gone terribly wrong. But you also might notice, like, get it pretty dirty because these have proper 4-wheel drive as well, which is very useful. I made the biggest mistake. I can't believe I made this on camera, but I will. Made such a big mistake with this vehicle like 2 weeks ago. Went to fill it up with gas. So came back here, right? pulled off the little fuel filler neck, went ahead, stuck some gas in it. All right, didn't seem to change the fuel gauge, just a gallon or two, so I stuck 5 more gallons in there. Come back the next morning, and there is a bigger mess on the floor than I've ever seen. It reeks of gas in here, and it's not just gas, it's like this oily mixture. Go to start the truck up, it's just dumping gas out of the engine. I'm like, what the heck happened? Figured out that this is not the fuel filler, this is the oil filler. Because the engine lives underneath this cubby, and the crafty Honda engineers put a filler on the outside. The fuel filler is actually on the other side of the truck. So then I had to drain most of it drained out automatically, but tried to drain like 3 gallons of oil and gas out of this thing. Oil fills, I mean, it was a whole thing. Truck is fine. These things are unkillable, but that was a big mess and a big lesson learned. 68 Mustang California Special. Another vehicle we bought for the TFL Classics YouTube channel a while back. Such a cool car. This was my dream car when I was a kid, and it has consistently been one of my dream cars. A little bit of an example of maybe don't meet your heroes, because the problem is this car has been beautifully restored. The interior is really nice. The engine it runs really well. They're a little underwhelming to drive, to be honest, in factory configuration. And they're just old cars now, right? So they feel a little rickety. But, I mean, just beautiful interior. It's like a piece of art in there. And it sounds great, super slow. This is a 289 2-barrel Challenger V8. I think it made 156 horsepower when it was new. I think it makes 156 horsepower now. But that 3-speed automatic does everything it can to make sure you don't feel any of it. However, I understand why people rest them on these cars, because they're beautiful, they look fast, they're not fast. At least not a 289 3-speed car. So probably hold on to this one for a little bit longer. The nice thing about some of these cars is, like, if it's nice like this, you're never really going to lose money on it. You're probably not going to make a lot. Some of these cars are a little bit out of vogue right now, but pretty special. And then we come to probably my favorite car in the TFL fleet right now. This is a 1945 Willys MB military Jeep. It's been beautifully restored. It was actually a project guy called it Love Boat. Big Jeep guy restored this thing a while back. These things are not as expensive as you might think. A really nice one like this, probably worth $25,000. I think we paid 21 grand for it. Super fun. An experience that's very different than anything else on the road. Incredible off-road, very reliable. Parts can be a little tricky to find, like if you want OEM parts, but that's just so cool. I love this. Love this little Willys MB. I think it's really special. Big World War II history guy as well. And I mean, how can you not love the icon from that conflict? And then over here, we've got the 2022 Ram 2500 Cummins Trailhound that we just sold. It's being replaced by that Duramax, and it has been nothing short of incredible over the last couple of years. It's been amazing. It's got tons of torque. Really comfortable interior. It's very quiet. It tows anything confidently. We've got the, I think it's a BDS lift with Fox suspension. I mean, really high dollar stuff on suspension on this car, this truck. So it rides super well. Remote Resi Fox shocks. We've got an AEV front bumper, which is just the best in the industry, in my opinion. We've got a Warn 16,000-pound winch. This truck, I'm very proud to say, Honda did a great job with this, because it was built with the most top-shelf components out there, and it's a good example of why you want to spend the extra coin, if you can afford it, to buy the top-shelf stuff. Because, like, if you look at the front of my Land Rover, my Fairley is all rusty, my winch is kind of dicey. This thing is solid, and it's been awesome. So I teased it at the beginning. Let's talk about some of the vehicles we're holding from you that haven't showed up, but I do want to talk about if you've made it this far in the video. We're going to go back over to this Ford. This Ford Model A is actually being traded in, hopefully, fingers crossed, for another Ford very, very shortly. So we bought I think it's a 2025 Ford Maverick. We've never owned a Maverick. It's a hot truck. It's an important truck. It's an affordable truck. We want to get that story out there. But the reason we bought the new one is because you can get the hybrid with the all-wheel drive. So it's a pretty entry-level truck. I think it's an XLT. It's not XL, right? The problem with the XL truck is the interiors are really dark and they don't film well on camera. So it's an XLT. It's got some color on the inside. Not a lot of options, though. I think it's got heated seats, and that's it. Custom ordered it. It's like dark green. It's going to be hopefully coming very shortly. I thought it would be here by now. It seems to be taking a long time to get this truck out there. We placed that order forever ago, but I think we have a build date on that now. Hopefully, don't quote me on that. I think we do. And then the one I'm really excited about is the Volkswagen ID Buzz. So we've been waiting for our ID Buzz for years. I mean, we had wanted to buy one when they first showed the concept in 2016. It's finally at the port. It's in the US, right? They shipped it over, and we're taking delivery in Pennsylvania at a Volkswagen dealer out there. That's who we traded the Cybertruck in on for that ID Buzz. Just can't wait. I think it's the blue with the white top. It's going to be really cool. We have to fly out there. Hopefully, I'm really hoping like next week or the week after, it'll be out of the port in the dealer's hands. Fly out there. We're going to film it, drive it, road trip it back, and see what that's like. But that should be coming any day now. So those are the two vehicles we've been keeping from you, and we'll have a lot of videos of those when they come up. Let us know what you think. A big thank you to Jen for putting up with me in this video. Head over to alltfl.com for more real-world reviews. Thanks for watching.